Matter. There we go. It's our first car designed for type approval, the culmination of years of research to date. It can cruise at 100 kilometers an hour and it can reach 100 in just under 10 seconds. It does all this on a fuel cell of only 8.5 kilowatts. That's only just over 11 horsepower. And it has energy consumption equivalent to 1.2 litres per 100 kilometers. The Rasa has the same acceleration as the Toyota Mirai, Toyota's hydrogen car, which has a fuel cell of over 13 times the power output and uses over 3 times as much hydrogen per mile. Using figures from the Konkawi report and hydrogen from natural gas, the Rasa has a well-to-wheel CO2 emissions figure of about 40 grams per kilometre. Now, efficiency is the principal metric that we've got to chase, but it's also key to our other problems, such as air quality and resource consumption. And we do this by whole system design, focusing on the system rather than the components of that system. And by this I mean that no component is compared directly with an alternative at subsystem level. A model of the whole car is built, and all alternatives are evaluated at that system level. The objective is to optimize the system, whereas optimizing the components in the system pessimizes the whole system. Counterintuitively, whole system design often leads to choosing components that are heavier, less efficient, or more expensive because they deliver a car that's lighter, more efficient, or cheaper. That breakthrough is not through better fuel cells, but through systems integration. Fuel cells and combustion engines are completely different. Just as the business models of today were forged by the constraints of the 20th century, the cars of today have been shaped by combustion engines and pressed steel bodies. By starting again from a clean sheet of paper, we can build an effective and efficient car using existing fuel cell and hydrogen technology. But again, it does depend on changing everything. You can't cross a chasm in 2 leaps. Now, one question we're always asked is, where do you get the hydrogen? Recharging one car is easy, battery car, and a hydrogen car is very difficult. But as we scale, battery cars become harder and hydrogen cars become easy. Much like petrol, one refueling station can support thousands of cars, and it's a very similar experience to refueling with petrol. To create a market for a mainstream motorway-capable intercity car in the UK would need a network of around 300 refuelers. But disruptive technologies never come to market in mainstream segments initially. They always start in niches where the weaknesses don't matter. This is why the Rasa is designed for local use, because the critical scale of infrastructure in order to create a commercial market in the UK comes down from 300 to just 1 refueler. This allows the incremental development of the skeleton of a nationwide network without ever taking a nationwide gamble. And then there's the customer proposition. The norm in the industry is if you sell cars, around 40% of the revenue generated by that car goes to the manufacturer. 60% of the revenues go elsewhere. We are the only car company that hopes never to sell a car. Rather than selling a car as a product, we'll sell mobility as a service. Customers will buy a contract, typically for a 1 to 3 year period, and this covers all costs such as insurance and, most importantly, the fuel. There's a fixed monthly fee and a mileage or usage rate, much like a mobile phone. This de-risks the new technology for customers. They don't have to worry about maintenance, insurance, or depreciation. And it's also more convenient. The monthly direct debit's literally the only transaction involved. Now, we've built a desirable car that people want, rather than appealing to eco-guilt. And it's great fun to drive. It's light, direct, nimble, and engaging. And this is what we see. 100% of the revenue generated by the car through its life comes to us, and our interest is in longevity rather than obsolescence. The car is a revenue-generating asset on our balance sheet, so the longer it generates revenue, the better. After the first contract, the car comes back to us, and we supply it to a second, third, and fourth-hand customer. And even for a second-hand user, the costs of ownership are entirely predictable. Selling service like this completely transforms the economic barriers of bringing low-carbon technologies to market. If selling cars, you must match the extraordinarily low supply chain costs of combustion engine cars today in order to be competitive. Any new technology is by definition low volume. and higher cost. To get the cost down, we need to get the volume up, but to get the volume up, we need to get the cost down. So it's a classic chicken and egg problem. If you sell the service, on the other hand, and reap the benefits of efficiency, of low maintenance, longer revenue generating life, and recovery at end of life, all because you've designed for it, you can compete at the same price to the customer long before the supply chain costs match those of combustion engines. Now, I talked about whole system design and how this leads to different design choices. If we apply this not just to the design of the car, but the design of the business model, and to the combination of the two, it leads to entirely different design choices. For instance, carbon fiber is more expensive than steel and always will be. However, in this model, a carbon fiber car is more profitable than a steel one at the same price to the customer. It leads inevitably to sustainable solutions, to a circular economy model, and to a more resilient business. No longer can we allow, it also actually forced us to reconsider some of our processes, such as design and procurement. We no longer can allow teams to work in silos. All engineers need to have access to all areas of the vehicle design so that cross-platform synergies can be identified, which has best been demonstrated in open source software development. We can't prescribe cost, weight, or performance specs to components, as they all interact and decisions have to be made iteratively. And this isn't easy. It's even more difficult when giving specs to suppliers. Being clear about the features that we need to maximize, rather than defining specific performance requirements and cost, is much more realistic if we spread this model upstream into the supply chain, buying the service of components rather than the components themselves. For instance, paying a fuel cell company for kilowatt hours, installed kilowatt hours in the car, rather than for fuel cells. There are numerous other benefits. For example, a truly circular value network will lead to different materials and technologies, developments that are technically possible and needed, but will never happen under a sale of product model. An example is completely closed-loop recyclable advanced composite materials systems. While supplying materials for the structure of cars may appear to be an interesting opportunity, a completely recyclable alternative to epoxy resin is a big research exercise, investment. But after 20 years, the market won't just soften but fall off a cliff because there's enough material going around in circles. If, on the other hand, the chemical company never sells the materials but only leases them, revenues become, for the chemical company, become gradually decoupled from virgin input, which is quite an attractive proposition for an oil-based business. And this justifies the initial investment. Another great outcome is that quality becomes profitable. We often hear the phrase quality pays, but what this usually means is that customers will pay more for a higher quality. But that's not what I mean. I mean that at the same price to the customer, a high quality product is more profitable for the manufacturer than a cheap one, even though it costs more to make. But the central theme to all this is the alignment of interests. If selling mileage rather than cars, our interests switch from obsolescence and high running costs to longevity and low running costs, aligning the formerly opposed interests of customers and manufacturer. Selling service rewards resource conservation rather than resource consumption, aligning our interests with policymakers, and future-proofing the business. Spreading this model upstream into the supply chain aligns interests with those of our suppliers. If a manufacturer buys components from a supplier, the supplier wants as high a price as possible with as short a life as possible. The opposite of what the manufacturer wants. Whereas if the manufacturer pays for the service of that component, they have a shared interest in the cheapest way of providing that service. Indeed, it allows all the various players involved in delivering the service of mobility to customers to draw an envelope around the lifetime costs of the car and make purely rational economic decisions. For these benefits to be realized, there are two principal conditions. One, the car must stay on the balance sheet of the company from a clean sheet of paper through to the end of life, and also all lifetime costs must be internalized. And we expect that this model that profits from resource conservation will become commonplace and make the existing model obsolete. Indeed, let us hope for all our sakes that the model of built-in obsolescence in products itself becomes obsolete. Thank you.
I guess it was a very disruptive presentation, so we can see how everyone is challenged when we are shifting towards circular models. And therefore, we are asking you a question now. Do you think this business model will work? It works already, but now for Slovakia. Would it work? Is there something what? Wow, that is how it starts. 100% yes. And we will count down again, so to see whether, what do you think about that? Because from my point of view, it was really interesting because you tackle everything. Everything is changing. It's not just that we are moving from products to services. We are really disrupting different areas, and you are implementing a new way of collaboration among different partners in the value chain as well. So it is really something what is closer to revolution than to evolution. Okay. Yeah, so we are very optimistic, brave, and we are ready to challenge the future with this kind of models. So thank you very much for your voting, and we are moving forward to the next speaker. So I would like to welcome Jan Mazur. Please join us. Another solution that goes hand in hand with sharing and not possessing. Please.
Thank you very much for having me here. I'd like to present today to you our very, very modest experience so far that we have with the shared mobility here in Bratislava. I'm a representative of the Old Market Hall Alliance, which actually runs this lovely building that you can see there in the behind. This is a major, I would say, the biggest cultural hall here in the center of Bratislava. We run this space as a civic association since 2013. We are contracted by the municipality for 10 plus 5 years as an option to run this space for the public benefit, basically. The key principle that we have in our partnership with the municipality is to have a financially sustainable model. That means that we are disconnected from the municipality. We have our own resources that we actually draw from. So in our operation, we decided that we want to help the neighboring parts of the center of the city. So we started to work with the neighboring squares that you can see on this very sketchy map out there. And we tried different programs that would somehow bring life into the center of Bratislava, that would also ease some repeating problems such as the mobility problems, traffic, etc. One of these things that we tried in the center of Bratislava is the mobility point that I'm going to talk about now. So the situation that we were facing in the center of Bratislava was there was basically no car sharing. So far, we can still discuss whether what we do is actually a car sharing or rather a short-term car lease, let's say. But still, that was the situation. You know, of course, that's one of the reasons why we are here. Slovakia is a strongly car-dependent country or economy, let's say. Plus, there was also a mixed acceptance of the sharing economy to some extent. There were many discussions about Uber economics. Taxi drivers were strongly opposing that, although the taxi drivers themselves were not very disciplined as a profession as such. In this context, we try to build some new proposal, some new model that could be used within the center. So we partnership together with the municipality, with Volkswagen, with the distributor of the electricity, ZSE here, to actually do two things. First was to give some new impetus to the square that's just in front of the Old Market Hall, you may see there at the behind. And the second one was to create a mobility point, shared economy, shared mobility point. So this is the space that we created here. It's a place where you can actually come and rent for the short term bikes, e-ups, also the small trolleys, cargo bikes, which is very, very special in the center. This space is actually run by us, by an NGO, so that's something that is a little bit outside of the ordinary in Europe. And we have a partner which is a go for a courier service. We are finalizing the application, which is going to be available very soon. At the moment, we really do see quite a lot of traffic there. So we have 7 cars, we have dozens of bikes there that are available for tourists and for people who actually work there. What's interesting is that many businesses choose this kind of transportation. Once they move to the city center, they don't have to move their cars inside, and they can use this space to move around the city later on. So what we are planning in the future, or what is our, let's say, thinking about it, at the moment we have an hourly billing, which is a little bit unpractical, let's say, so we have to move towards the minute billing or charging. We need to expand the drop-off and charging zones, which is critical if you want to expand it a little bit and provide more flexibility to users of these cars. So that is something that's needed. We reinvest the revenues to this program. And actually, we would like to be a part of a larger consortium together with the municipality and somebody else and some other entity. And this consortium should be forming at the moment. So we estimate that about 100 cars are sort of needed to cover Bratislava. It's the surface area of about 31 square kilometers. There is some estimate that probably about 30 charging stations should be needed to cover this surface area. And of course, this is neatly related to the parking policy of the city. We know that at the moment, the parking policy is almost non-existent. There is no special preference for, let's say, this kind of transportation in the center of Bratislava. So something that we envision should be reduced or subsidized parking in the center. And of course, what is needed if you want to create this kind of business model is to have a car resale program. So that means that you basically use these cars for 1 or 2 years and then you resell them after some time. So, and basically that's all I have, so it's very modest and very short. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was a great example of car sharing and of those challenges that you are facing and how important the partnership is with municipality, and also how important is it. How do we accept this service? Because sometimes owning the car means also the status symbol. So if you do not have a particular brand in your garage, then you are not worth something. So this is challenging also in the sense of the values and of our attitude toward owning this symbol. So would you use this service? Now this is the challenging question. If, not if, because this is available, so would you try it and then decide whether that is convenient enough for you, or you think it's not worth even trying? So please, for now, more of those that would at least try that and use it, and then come with new proposals, probably, how to improve it, or even with some solutions. Yeah, oh, basically we are very keen of car sharing, it seems. Okay, so it is not moving in the no direction, so I would conclude that the answer is yes, and that this kind of initiatives deserve even one applause, because he was so modest and short. Please give one. Thank you. So to the next speaker, now we have Mr. Peter Švec from PSA Group, Slovakia. And please, what can you add to this valuable value chain? Please.
Thank you for invitation. Thank you for space. Now I have a little dilemma if I can add to those 3 languages already used another one, the French, because PSA is a really French island, also here in Slovakia, in Trnava, in our factory, but I'm just joking. Of course, I will present, and I have presentation in English, but for me it's better to make comments in Slovak. So if you don't mind, I will switch to Slovak. Okay, just to... Takže dva slajdy, ktoré sú trošku o skupine, aby na také zorientovanie, nechcem vás zaťažovať množstvom tých čísel. Z toho, čo vidíte tu, sú to profilové čísla o výsledkoch predovšetkým za rok 2016. A z týchto čísel je zaujímavé to tretie... Emisie CO2 na úrovni 102,4 gramov na kilometr, čím sa PSA vlastne stáva lídrom, alebo dlhodobo je lídrom na európskom trhu vozidiel. Počet vyrobených vozidiel je nad 3 milióny vozidiel za rok 2016 a taká dôležitá informácia, ale pre vás asi nie nová, PSA realizovalo počas tohto roku akvizíciu európskej divízie General Motors, čím rodina tých existujúcich troch značiek Peugeot, Citroën a DS sa rozrastla o dve nové značky, a to Opel a Vauxhall. Od augusta tohto roku je to vlastne realita, aj administratívne. Tuto vidíte veľmi skrátke počet nových modelov, ktoré sa chystáme uviesť na trhy v rôznych regiónoch sveta do roku 2020. Zatiaľ nie sme v Spojených štátoch amerických, ako vidíte, ani vo forme teda výrobných kapacít, ani predajnej siete, ale najneskôr do 10 rokov je vízia vstúpiť aj na trh Spojených štátov amerických. Poďme k téme. Ja som si na úvod dovolil citát prezidenta nášho koncernu, ktorý hovorí o vlastne podmienke dlhodobej výkonnosti, alebo dlhodobá výkonnosť je podmienená udržateľnosťou, alebo teda prístupom udržateľným v rôznych oblastiach, do čoho je potrebné vtiahnuť samozrejme všetkých stakeholders, to znamená našich klientov, našich zamestnancov, akcionárov, dlhodobých investorov, dodávateľov a tak ďalej. Skúsme ďalej. Aby som prešiel k téme Circular Economy, toto sú dve schémy v podstate rovnaké, ale tá prvá, teda vpravo je taká zložitejšia, alebo komplikovanejšia, alebo detailnejšia. Tuto je vlastne schéma, ktorá je zjednodušená. Ňou chceme povedať, že vlastne do toho procesu udržateľnosti je potrebné zaradiť samozrejme predovšetkým výrobný proces, keďže sme koncern, ktorý vyrába vozidlá, hotový produkt, tak je to predovšetkým výroba, kde je náš záujem znižovať záťaž na životné prostredie v samotnom procese výroby. Potom je to distribúcia, kde povedzme tá záťaž nie je až taká výrazná, ale je, a takisto je potrebné na to dbať. Potom je využívanie vozidiel. A tam je cieľ znižovať práve emisie CO2, kde, ako som vravel, PSA má čo povedať, a ešte budem v ďalšom slajde o tom hovoriť podrobnejšie. Potom údržba, pochopiteľne, a potom teda ten záver toho výrobného cyklu, kde materiály využité pri výrobe vozidla sa dostávajú späť do procesu alebo na začiatok toho výrobného procesu medzi vstupy. PSA vlastne už dnes dokáže 95% vozidiel spracovať alebo recyklovať, a takisto sa dostávame niekde na 30% vo využívaní tzv. Zelených materiálov pri výrobe vozidiel. Skúsime ďalej. Ups. A toto nechcem, aby ste samozrejme čítali do detailov, to je príliš veľa faktov, veľa čísel, ale chcem len demonštrovať zo zoznamu našich záväzkov, ktorý je pomerne dlhý, som si vytiahol 3 také dôležité záväzky. Tým prvým je už spomínané znižovanie emisí CO2. A tu chcem upriamiť pozornosť len na ten posledný cieľ v roku 2017, a to je ako zlepšovanie toho cieľa znižovania CO2 uvedením novej generácie motorov Euro 6 ako vlastne druhá úroveň alebo ďalší krok technológie Euro 6 a manuálnej 6-stupňovej prevodovky MB6. Preto som si vybral niektoré z tých záväzkov, aby ste videli, že to neberieme len ako nejaké heslá, ale že tie ciele sú presne rozfázované a sú veľmi detailné a berieme ich veľmi vážne potom v jednotlivých fázach, či výroby, alebo potom distribúcie, údržby a spracovania už vozidiel na konci životného cyklu. Tu vidíme vlastne to, ako sa PSA darí rokmi znižovať emisie CO2. Táto modrá čiara je teda vývoj trhu alebo priemer trhu. Tá zelená čiara sú naše výsledky. Z toho je vidieť, že ten výsledok alebo ten ukazovateľ CO2, ktorý je na úrovni dnes 102,4 gramov na kilometr, nie je náhoda, ale že je to dlhodobý trend znižovania. A predovšetkým cez znižovanie spotreby, ale aj zavádzania rôznych moderných technológií, ktorými sa nám darí túto úroveň viesť tak, aby sme boli schopní dodržať požiadavku regulátora, teda Európskej komisie do roku 2021 na úroveň 95 gramov na kilometr. Vlastne dnes, za rok 2016, už 42% našej produkcie, teda vozidiel, spĺňa, alebo ich emisie CO2 sú pod úrovňou 100 gramov na kilometr. Toto je ďalší záväzok, ktorý sa týka zase materiálov. Z nich taký dôležitý je práve tento, kde do roku 2025 chceme, aby minimálne 30 materiálov použitých pri výrobe vozidel malo tzv. Green charakter, alebo teda, aby to boli tzv. Zelené materiály. Dnes už vlastne sme niekde blízko tejto úrovne, ale chceme samozrejme tento trend do budúcna posilňovať. No a tretí z tých záväzkov sa opäť týka ako odpadového materiálu. Tu možno chcem demonštrovať na jednom modeli na vozidle Peugeot 3008, teraz som si istý, kde sa nám vlastne v priebehu 5 rokov podarilo výrazne znížiť vlastne impact vozidla ako hotového produktu na rôzne oblasti životného prostredia, tak ako to vidíte tu. Naším cieľom je, aby vo výrobných závodoch boli odpady z výroby na úrovni 0, to znamená, aby žiaden odpad z výroby nesmeroval na skládku. A tu chcem povedať, že Trnavská automobilka už od roku 2012, od polovice roku 2012, nevyváža žiaden odpad z výroby na skládku. Všetko dokážeme teda spracovať cez firmy, ktoré si tento materiál alebo tento odpad berú, alebo ho dokážeme spracovať časť toho odpadu aj v automobilke samotnej. Predposledný alebo predposledný slajd, toto je vlastne cyklus spracovania batérií z hybridných, alebo teda z hybridných vozidel alebo elektromobilov. Proces detailného vlastne spracovania tých batérií tak, aby boli materiály čo najviac využiteľné. Pri batériách do hybridov sme schopní už 70% vlastne z tých batérií dnes spracovať alebo recyklovať. A pri elektromobiloch je to na úrovni až 84% schopnosti využiť. Toto je ukážka toho, alebo požiadavky zákazníkov, alebo zmeny správania zákazníkov, alebo teda akým spôsobom reflektujeme požiadavku zákazníkov a od toho prístupu vlastniť vozidlo ku prístupu mať servis. A prikryli sme to jedným spoločným logom Free to Move, kde v podstate dnes už ponúkame kompletný servis pre zákazníka, či potrebuje vozidlo v danej minúte alebo v niekoľkých minútach v tom meste, kde tento servis poskytujeme, alebo je to pre manažovanie flítu firiem, alebo je to pre dlhodobé využitie či fyzickej osoby, alebo je to opäť spoločnosť, ktorá potrebuje nejakým spôsobom vykryť svoju potrebu na prepravu, tak aby zákazník nevyhnutne nemusel to vozidlo vlastniť, ale aby ho mohol mať k dispozícii vždy podľa svojej potreby. Takže v našom prípade je to značka Free to Move. No a úplne posledný slajd, to je len na také doplnenie, aj keď to nepatrí možno celkom do témy tejto konferencie, tak autonómne vozidlá sú veľmi, alebo rezonuje v médiách. V prípade PSA môžem povedať, že sme spoločnosťou, ktorá je v tej prvej línii lídrov na trhu, ktorá teda medzi výrobcami, ktoré už dnes reálne testujú vozidlá, autonómne vozidlá v reálnej preprave. Tuto je vlastne časová predstava toho, aký stupeň tej autonómnosti sme schopní alebo sme pripravení poskytnúť našim zákazníkom v rokoch do budúcna. A teda to, že to nie je iba teória, dôkazom toho je, že za rok 2016 alebo do roku 2016 sa týmito vozidlami v reálnej doprave najazdilo už 100 000 kilometrov. To je posledný môj slajd, takže ďakujem za pozornosť.
Thank you very much for being punctual. So we have heard now and seen how everything is changing and how the industry is transforming. So therefore, we have another question for you. Is Slovak automotive industry ready to compete on global circular economy playground? So we have seen what is changing, what is happening. Are you ready? What do you think? Yes and no, so we will wait a little bit more to see what is coming out. Yeah, because as we have heard, it is not about something what is local or national or even detached from what is happening in other industries, so we are really interdependent. What is happening here or what is happening on other continents and other industries, all that is changing this environment and making us playing in different roles, different games. So yeah, a little bit less optimistic this time. Oh, we will give some more time to see whether anyone who is more optimistic is waking up. No, even worse. You're so tired that you're already depressed, I guess. Okay, so but it is always good to know that we can improve and that we can learn from each other a little bit more to be more positive. So we see that the trend is more to know. So thank you very much for voting in this round as well. And last, but not the last one, in the cycle and in
to be treated. In the Netherlands, there are already 100,000 plug-in or electrical vehicles registered. And if we jump into the end of the life stage, annually 220,000 ELVs are deregistered. They have an average weight of 1,040 kilo and an average age of 18.1 year. So a very long lifespan. And we're talking about some 200 million kilo of, well, chances for secondary raw materials. A very short overview of of ARN, the EPR organization of in the Netherlands. ARN is in operation since 1995 and founded by the entire automotive industry, represented by the car importers, the car dealers, the car repair shops, and the car dismantlers. For about 99% of the ELVs of the brands join the collective system, and we also carry out the legal obligations for the propulsion batteries. And for about 60% of the car brands join the collective system for collection of batteries, propulsion batteries. The system is financed by a recycling fee, which is being levied by the first registration of the car, and which is currently €42.50 per car and will be €40 per car in 2018. And the recycling fee for new batteries, propulsion batteries, is depending on the weight of the battery. Well, we work together with the entire recycling chain, and starting with the car dismantling company, who has to have an environmental permit and, very important as well, a permit to be able to deregister a car at the registration authority. We work together with the collection companies. We organize the collection of the recycled and dismantled materials, recycling companies, trading companies, and shredding companies. And last but not least, we founded a PST technology factory in which we treat the last part of the car. Well, a short overview of how that looks in the chain. A car is deregistered at the car dismantling company. The car dismantling company takes out the materials, such as liquids and tires and the battery, and sells second-hand parts, which is a great part of what's happening in comparison to the total weight of a car. Then the hulk is going to the shredding company, and the shredder takes out the metals, and the leftover, the shredder waste, is brought to the PST facility, which is for about 180 kilo a car. And this is determined by a shredder trial. What's very important that all chain partners, we demand all chain partners to deliver us administrative data, so we can exactly know what's happening throughout the chain. And we have access to the registration figures, so we know exactly what the average age or average weight of each car is, because we ask all the parties in the chain to weigh the materials. We know exactly how many kilos are going into what chain. And this all ends up with a recycling and recovery performance of 98.7%, divided into 88.9% recycling and 9.8% energy recovery. Well, this about how it works in the Netherlands, but the real question can be, why does it work this good? There are in fact two aspects why in the Netherlands the recycling of cars has the achievements I mentioned. The first aspect is that a very important key for success is the registration of cars in the Netherlands. We need several incentives for the players in the recycling chain. First of all, there is the introduction that's already been a long time ago, since 1997. There is an ownership tax. So this means that as long as you own a car, you pay tax. And this is a very important incentive for the last owner to bring his car, when it's at the end of its life, to a car dismantling company or to an authorized treatment facility. And then there is this the online deregistration. Once the car gets into the car dismantling company, the car dismantling company has access to an online deregistration system, and we receive those figures right away, so we know exactly where is what car and how many cars are deregistered. And the last owner, of course, receives a COD at the ATF, at the car dismantling company. And another important issue is that deregistration is only possible, so the car dismantling is only possible, it's only authorized to deregister a car if he's got an environmental permit and if he's got this permit from the registration authority. And this makes it easier to enforce for the governmental bodies. And well, some other, maybe it doesn't sound that important, but the next thing is there is a unique connection between the license and the vehicle, and this is very important to trace the cars. So a car, when a car is brought into the market, it has one license plate and that doesn't change until the end of its life. And well, some speakers before me already mentioned something about leakage flows. Well, one important aspect is that you can deregister your car temporarily, but that will cost you money. So if the car is really at the end of its life, then it's more it's more better to bring it to a car dismantling company instead of putting it in your garden or in your shed. The other aspect why it works, that we invested in a post-shredder technology where we treat the last 200 kilos of shredder waste, which I have a small example of what we do with, for instance, the fibers. We created an application where we make planks out of it, and it has to compete with wood planks, but this material, once it is at its life, it can be recycled 100%, and the price is competitive with wood. Well, it may sound easier, but those kind of projects takes for about 5 to 6 years before you can enter the market. Another advantage is that it saves CO2 in comparison with the production of new woods, and of course the woods that has been used to protect the ditches with in the water in Netherlands. It is mainly used tropical wood, so that's also from an environmental point of view a better solution. Small introduction on what we do for propulsion batteries. We have a system where we organize the collection, and this is financed by the recycling fee. We optimize and inform the chain on dismantling, how to store the batteries, and very important is that we only take back complete and traceable batteries. And there are in fact two options what you can do with a battery which is on the end of its life phase. You can recycle it, or you can put it into a new application. And this is a small overview of what can happen. Of course, the left side can be for about 8 years, but once the battery is at its end, you can recycle it, or you can use it for another application such as energy storage. But it's important that you arrange it legally on a proper way, because otherwise the car producer stays responsible. And if the battery is used for another application, that's not the best solution. So the end of waste facilitates, in fact, a legal route for a conversion of the application of the battery. Well, some advantages of the second life is that you longer the lifespan, and it lowers your carbon footprint in comparison with the production of new batteries. And of course, the recycling efficiency is much higher. Thank you very much. That was my.
Thank you very much. Now we have a final question of this round, a little quiz for you. And so how many vehicles are recovered today? Less in the Netherlands. Less than 10%, 10 to 30%, more than 30%. Because in your presentation we've got this data, I guess. No, in the Netherlands. Yeah, because I'm checking now whether you are still listening to the presentations. So more than 30. It is quite optimistic. The others. So what do you think? That in the Netherlands they're so successful that they managed to recover so many cars and other vehicles? It is changing a little bit, yeah, but still. Okay. Just a little bit more, because you are quite convinced that it is more than 30%. But as far as I have heard, it's less than 10%. Is it right? Close to 10%. Is it right? Yeah? Remanufactured. Yeah, because they're recycled in more than 90%, but recovered. Exactly, yeah. So that is the answer, 9.8. Yeah. Okay, it was a little quiz to wake you up a little bit. Now I would kindly ask our guests to join me on the stage, and now it's time for your questions. So please join me here, take your seats, and we will open the discussion. So you have a chance now really to put your questions through the system that we have. Hopefully you feel comfortable with that. If not, we will take a risk and ask questions even directly. Oh, we have some questions already. So if you want to address the question to the particular speaker, please refer to which speaker it goes. Otherwise, we will try to spread it around a bit. So, we have 23 questions already, so thank you for being in good shape to cope with the questions. Let's start with this one, which is for everyone almost. So, what is required to boost investments in Slovakia? Who feels ready to give the answer? You have the mics in front of you. So how to boost investments in Slovakia related to the car industry and what we were talking about? Anyone ready to answer that? Maybe we will start. Okay.
I think for the government in Slovakia, it's very important to invest in sustainability, but also to subsidize companies like remanufacturing industries like our business. And also I think it's important for Slovakia to make sure that investment groups like Skoda, Volkswagen, who are investing here heavily, to support them on becoming more circular as a car manufacturer. So that's what I think.
So anyone would like to add something? Yeah, please. Do you?
The answer in just in points: transparency, better schools, pro-investment environment, and stable legislation.
Well, very strict to the point. So I hope that the government is listening. There were quite some things. Okay, then we will move forward for Skoda and Volkswagen. What do you seek from? Oh, it disappeared. Yes, where is it? What do you seek from business partners to support you in becoming more circular? So this is a very important question, because when you are a supplier or a business partner, it's important to know what do you seek from them, or what do you expect them to do to become more circular. So now we have the question for Skoda and for Volkswagen.
Maybe I will start.
Yeah.
So what we are expecting from our business partners are the possibilities how to make, for instance, the closed loop recycling for our scrap, for instance, or closed loop solutions for the batteries. And I think a lot of materials can be recovered so that they can be used. And I think this is a big hole in the Slovakian market that can provide a profitability, not maybe in first or second year, but at least in 5 years it should be made.
So this is a change of a mindset also for the suppliers. And from Skoda side?
Because we had a experience in finding some companies who help us to become a little bit more circular. The most important thing is this something like enthusiasm, because these things are completely new to everyone. Related to lithium ion batteries, it was said there is nearly no company who really can recycle the battery. If you compare it to the lead batteries, there are tens of companies within the whole Europe where you recycle a lead battery for, I don't know, 80, 70, 90%, and it's in place. Now we have lithium ion batteries. There is a strong push to use these lithium ion batteries, but there are no providers so far. So we need also someone who will have this enthusiasm and who will try these new things, even it can be very costful for the very beginning.
Okay, I will refer to you now, because when I hear enthusiasm and what you have introduced to us, can you give a comment to that? How far the enthusiasm can bring someone?
Yes, we do need to find partners in building a completely circular value network who are prepared to really rethink the way they do business. So I talked about how the model impacts the products you make, but even more importantly than that, in terms of the supply chain, it leads to a different contractual relationship with between the supplier and manufacturer, one that we believe, and some of our suppliers believe, is actually better business for the suppliers. But the truth is, it's very much harder to change business models than to change technologies. And so we have a much richer conversation generally with new technologies or new entrants into the automotive sector than we do with traditional tier ones. Having said that, these new technologies are the ones that are most important to us to have in a circular model, because they're the biggest single items on our budget, and clearly in a circular model, the asset stays on the balance sheet of the supplier, and it reduces our working capital requirements, which is certainly one of the challenges of the whole circular economy.
So thank you. It's not so easy to change anyone, not business model particularly. Yes, there was a question from Jeanette as well. Can we get to that? How to implement? It was something like that, what you achieved in the Netherlands, how to implement that in Slovakia. Can we find that question, please? Because it's very interesting what can be implemented, how you can advise that. So yes, if you could rebuild, no, there was something else, the other one, but it doesn't matter. So it was about that, how to implement your solutions, or how to advise to the Slovak contributors to go after your steps, to follow your steps.
Well, like I said in my presentation, it's very important. If you want to achieve something on recycling, you have to get a hold on those materials. So registration is a key factor. And another thing is that at this moment you have to realize that the last materials of a car have a negative value. So for governmental reasons you can set regulations on preventing landfill or incinerate the material. So how to treat shredder waste, that's something that you can think about.
And when we are talking about, because these legislations, it comes often to the point. So to change the legislation, or how to engage the stakeholders, or how to do that, because there.
Well, you need to create incentives for the market to treat the negative value materials. So that's a big challenge.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for that. So let's go. Let's check what else do we have. Yeah, that was legislation. Now, can we get some more questions? Because there were some more. Yeah, they're hidden. Okay. Anyway, we will move. Yes, River Simple. How many cars are in operation already, and how is it River Simple financed? So, how many cars you have, and how is your model financed?
We've been through 4 separate vehicle programs. The car you saw is the first car we've designed for type approval, and we've got 1 of those on the road at the moment. We're still a pre-revenue company. We're building a batch of 20 of them, and they're going to trial next year. We're aiming at production in late 2020. Finance has been always of a fairly minimal nature, and so over the last 15 years, we've actually, including all the money that's gone through our partners on all the vehicle programs we've done, we've actually been through about £20 million sterling, so about 23 million euros. And I don't think there's anybody else who's got a hydrogen car on the road for less than £1 billion. So it's been quite cost effective. But it's come through a mixture of private investment and grants. And most recently we had a crowdfunding round earlier this year. And for the sort of sums of money that we actually need to move forward, it's practical.
Okay, crowdfunding, also something what goes hand in hand with circular economy. And I will just jump to the sharing economy, to the model that you have implemented here in Bratislava. So we have heard now what are the challenges on, let's say, on the producer side and so on. So where are you facing? You already told us something about the barriers, or what is that what you would need to extend your business? There is a goldfish in the hole, so what would be your wish for a goldfish?
I think that what we would like to see is some kind of strategy at the municipal level. So the municipal, they actually play a major role there, so they need to have a clear idea whether they want to let all the cars into the city, whether they want to create some special zones. We heard about diesel initiatives, so stopping the diesels entering the center of the city. So this is one thing that we can have. There should be some parking policy. This is something that we miss here in Bratislava in particular. So these are things that the municipality can do at the moment. There is no barrier, there's just a political will.
Okay, then the mayors are your target group. So more constructive dialogue with the mayor and with other mayors. So PSA question, how could your local operations become even more circular? Do you have the freedom to design that apart from head office? Freedom, very nice word.
We are in Slovakia 11 years, so not so long. And actually from very beginning it was designed already for this kind of economy. I don't have concrete answer to this, but to fine-tune the processes what are already established, but all changes or the system of circular economy was established from very beginning of PSA. We are not long in Slovakia. So I don't know if it is answer.
Okay, we don't have the reflection, but you can even raise your hands and add something or complain if the answers are not good enough. So how much has the Volkswagen emission discussion internally accelerated circular developments within Volkswagen? This is very interesting because we know that it was a big issue, and so how was it being in Volkswagen at that time?
I was expecting question this direction. I would, or I'm not going to put these two topics together, because Volkswagen started a circular thinking approach much few years ago, before the emissions scandal came. But on the other hand, it boosted the possibility on big change or transformation with the new strategy Together 2025. and we are coming now with more and more models. They are providing sustainability in this area. And what are we doing also is the change of giving us, this is maybe a part of the question on PSA. So for instance, we in Volkswagen Slovakia have the freedom to make the circular projects, the pilot projects for batteries, for instance, as we are the first producer for products, because we are now speaking about the electricity, what is coming. This is not coming for us. It has already come 2 years ago, so I'm dealing with these problems now, and we are welcoming every pilot project. And this also this discussion has boosted this pilot project starting and what are we working on.
Okay, so sometimes bad things have good impact, and even the others are start to question themselves what they can do. So are banks ready to finance shared ownership or transportation? Since ELV content is positive value, why are IRN is changing the last owner a recycling fee? Oh, it's quite complicated. Ah, charging, not, yeah, okay. It's disappeared. Okay, yeah. Yeah, okay.
Yes, indeed, an ELV has a positive value, but the problem is that every part of the chain is picking out, cherry-picking the positive value materials, and you end up with the negative value materials. That's why we are also, as ASEA, in favor of a shared responsibility throughout the chain. So if you take a car, you should accept that some negative value materials are in it and should be treated.
Yeah, so whenever we are talking about these materials and how anything is treated, we come to the first phase, which is circular design, how products are designed indeed. So maybe if we tackle this issue as well. So how important is circular design at the very beginning when we start thinking about the products? So maybe, because you explained it, oh, you lost your mic.
It's central to everything we do. It shapes the product. It shapes all the criteria we use for making design choices. It shapes our relationship with our customers, and it's absolutely instrumental to the profitability of the product. I don't think that we are quite clear there's a huge competitive advantage in proceeding in this way, but you can't achieve the competitive advantage with a product that's designed for a sale of product model in a sale of service, operating in the sale of service model. It simply isn't fit for purpose in that model. So I have to say that the one big luxury we have, despite being a startup, and the very few advantages of being a startup, I tell you, but the one big advantage we do have is a clean sheet of paper. And that luxury is not to be underestimated. I don't underestimate the challenges for people who haven't got a clean sheet of paper.
And for you, for example, because you are refurbishing this and you're making things functional again, so here probably the design counts as well. So maybe only my mic works. So we can
Yeah, it works. Yeah, for us it's very important that the design becomes circular. But the only thing that we've seen in the last decade is that components become smaller and smaller, which we call hybrid techniques. The hybrid techniques for us and for us as a remanufacturer are harder to remanufacture. So if they become more circular, it will be for us. Our work will become a little bit less if it becomes circular. But at the moment we do see that even if it is circular, that the initial stage of the first lifespan of the car, you can extend it by remanufacturing companies, because they see the tear and wear after, let's say, 10 years, and we could remanufacture this design. But the more circular the parts are, the easier they are applicable and adaptable to different various models.
Okay, so there was one direct question for Hugo from Herman Benwick again. What is your greatest hurdle for further growth? So, we want to see you growing.
I suppose the immediate one is always finance. We are doing a lot of things very differently, and as I said before, we are brought up in a culture to believe that changing one thing at a time is the prudent thing to do. And whenever the conversation about a new idea starts, all the conversation is about the reasons why it can't be done, and they're generally true. But the reason why they're true is we assume that the context within which the new idea is embedded doesn't change. If you're prepared to throw away the context and build a different pattern of relationships around it, it's those relationships that are the reasons why the new idea doesn't work in the old context. And actually, when we're going through a step change, changing multiple things simultaneously lowers the risks and lowers the barriers. But it does give people a large range of things to object to. And so, quite apart from being uncomfortable with lots of changes at once, people are also have a lot of choice as to why not to support it. That is getting an awful lot better for us, and we've got a lot more momentum, and the political world and so on, all sorts of things are going in our direction. I think in the medium term, the biggest challenge we probably face, and this is sort of going right to the heart of our long-term strategy, is probably standards. We are pursuing completely different standards, different sort of fuel cells, different electric motors, different construction materials, and it's the crude analogy is Betamax and VHS. We think that the standards we're pursuing inherently give cheaper, more profitable, more sustainable cars that are more efficient. And more profit, yes. So, but nonetheless, however much better they may be, if we're the only ones doing it, we have a problem. So the standards, we think, is the single biggest issue, and we want to open source all our technology.
Okay, thank you very much. So standards, and now we are moving from standards. What are incentives from Volkswagen and Skoda and other car manufacturers to their suppliers to start transition into circularity? So, how do you support your suppliers? Why would they change? Because we have heard that it is long-term change. Yeah.
Well, in fact, they are honored. They can be our suppliers.
Oh, wow.
Now, maybe I will not answer the question, but we are speaking about circularity, and we are speaking about vehicles which, in fact, are within circular economy for several years, because there is no other product like vehicle, which is, there are several owners. Just imagine how many owners can have a computer. One, maybe two, okay, if great, three. If you take vehicle, even there are these very old ones which were made in 1930. They are still in traffic. So we are still discussing about circular economy, how to make vehicles more circular. There are circular pretty enough so far. Now it's the question how these new things which are coming, like e-mobility and so on, if they still will help us to leave the vehicle within the circular economy. Because there can be a huge problem. If there is no recycling so far, then there will be no circular economy. If there is no recycling so far for lithium-ion batteries, then definitely it will be very difficult to reach any recycling quotas which are already in place. So once again, vehicle is already in circular economy for several years.
Okay, and for you as well, the question, and maybe, yes, for suppliers, what would be your advice?
We are working with our suppliers direction more waste packaging. It's quite long term because if we are getting the parts from our suppliers, they are not packaging only in paper or plastics, but we are sending this packaging back to our supplier, so we don't have to recycle it directly. We are using it more times. And this is also a standard requirement for the suppliers that they don't pack the parts in the one-way packaging. So this is one quite circular requirement on our suppliers. And we are trying also to make contracts for some parts if we find out in the production or before production that the part is non-conform, that we are not making scrap out of it, but we are sending it back to our supplier, that he has the possibility to repair it, because mostly it's not completely damaged, but there is a fault. We are not able
so to
really prevent waste. And it's quite hard job to make such contracts, but it is also profitable for us as well.
So we will slowly close the debate because we were really long and powerful. And now just one short sentence from each of you. So next year, when you will be sitting here, as you are today, what will be your main circular achievement? What will you be particularly proud of, each of you, according to that, what you are investing in today? So one sentence.
I'll be able to report on our trial of 20 vehicles on a sale service contract.
Great.
Green retail is implemented in Slovakia.
We will be much closer to production of e-car.
A good solution for recycling lithium-ion batteries.
For the Slovakian government to support the remanufacturing industry a bit more.
So we hope to have more spots in the city so that we can enlarge the operation.
For me, it will be one implemented closed-loop project for Volkswagen Slovakia.
So thank you very much. One big applause for these concrete promises. I guess that we are now all encouraged to continue with circular business models. Please, yes, you are invited to take your seats. And now we will move to the next session. So, from those who are already on the market, established companies, now we are moving to startups. Is it right?
Thank you, Ladea, and thank you each and every one of you in the panel, as well as congratulations to our audience who have survived the marathon of the 2 hours. We're doing very good, very well. Before we start session 4 on circular innovation, we have with us Ben Kubinga of Circular Economy, who could not present in session 2. Since we have him with us, I would like to request him to come after I finish to make a presentation. And right after him, we would like to invite Frank to take over the final session before we go on to the networking and then thereafter to dinner. So, Ben, please do come for your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I see that the time to go has come for some people, so I'll keep it short as possible. My name is Ben Kubinga. I work for Circular Economy in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. We are a social enterprise. We have a mission to accelerate the transition to the circular economy, not only in the Netherlands, but worldwide. And we try to do that by developing practical and scalable solutions. The reason I am here today is mainly because a year ago, together with one of our members, we are a cooperative, we have about 50 members. One of our members is ABN AMRO, and we wrote a report on the circular car called On the Road to the Circular Car. And I would like to share a couple of insights of that, but also share a couple of insights from other industries that might be beneficial to apply in the automotive industry. What we did in the report is actually look at the force fields of where are we and what is actually the need to move to a circular economy. And it's not only the standard story of decoupling our prosperity and resource use, but it's actually, for the automotive specifically, there are three factors that make that story complete to move towards circularity. One is that on the one hand, there is a policy push that doesn't necessarily mean that we're moving towards circularity. For instance, when it comes to lightweighting, moving towards the use of composites, carbon fibers, etc., that are not necessarily circular by design. But at the same time, there is a very strong pull from the consumer side, from the market itself, that asks for access rather than the use and the ownership of the cars. And on top of that, what people want, especially the younger generations, they want a smartphone on wheels. They want access to mobility to move from A to B, but they also want all the other services that you also can find in a smartphone nowadays in a car while moving from A to B. And that high revolving industry also asks for circular strategies. And then the last thing is, we talked about this quite a few times already today, is the sharing platforms, sharing a car and moving from letting a car stand idle for more than 95% of the time to actually sharing a car will also mean that the lifetime of the average car will reduce. So also there's a need to rethink the way the industry works, especially from a circular perspective. And we already heard quite a few examples of circular strategies today, so I won't go into that, but you can read them in the report that I will show you later. But rethinking ownership is a very important question that counts for both the OEMs, so the main manufacturers, as well as the suppliers early in the chain. And we heard the example of Philips, but I will show you a couple of other examples that might be beneficial as well. And in general, not to become the Kodak of the automotive industry, it's important for everyone in the chain to rethink their role in that system, because a linear chain is very fundamentally different from a circular chain. Now, if you look at the built environment, and this is a second report with ABN AMRO that we recently released, is that there is going to be a lot of changes within the entire value chain. So if you start with the production, the use phase at the bottom, and the end of use phase, then you see that players that were normally active, for instance, at the end of the chain, like recyclers, will now move to the beginning of the chain because they will start offering materials as the original suppliers. So they might actually kick out the original material producers or parts and component producers. And AC-Tronics that passed by just now is a good example there as well, pushing into the supplier side because they create new value from old streams. And I guess there's quite a few other complementarities that I will now not go into. And what you need for that is new types of collaboration. And this is the pavilion that ABN AMRO built and launched last month called Circle. And what they tried to do is make the most circular pavilion they could out of that, applying as many circular business models into it, like the elevator, where you don't pay for the elevator, but you pay for the vertical movements. For every vertical movement, you pay. And there's quite a few other examples, and that requires a very different way of procurement, of talking to your suppliers, of co-creation as well. And also that is a lesson that you can apply to the car industry. Well, remanufacturing I already mentioned, and we already saw a video of how this process works, but this is very, very valuable knowledge that is also for original manufacturers very critical to think about how can they actually apply these kind of models into their own work, either working with parties like AC-Tronics or doing it themselves. And now this is an example that I wanted to mention. You probably, or you may have heard of Fairphone, a smartphone that is produced in the fairest way possible, looking at where all the ingredients, let's say, all the primary materials come from which mines, to make sure that all these steps are as fair as possible and as circular as possible. They are one of our members as well. And what we're now developing together with them and ING, that is here today, and ABN AMRO, and another Dutch bank, plus a couple of lawyers and other experts, to see if we can come up with a product service system for these Fairphones. And these lessons can again be translated to car electronics at some point as well. So it's good to stay in touch for this with these banks and us if you're interested. Another example is climate, indoor climate as a service. Just like buildings, cars have indoor climate as well. And also there you can think of a system where you provide together, informed as a joint venture, as a special purpose vehicle, or however you want to do it, a way to provide the service into a car, like we saw the hydrogen car of River Simple. I think that combines quite a few of the examples that we mentioned in the report as well. So I would, I congratulate the River Simple there. And look into what we are now looking into in the Netherlands. And there's an energy supplier, or an energy supplier, and a real estate developer together that are now investigating this model to make sure that for each and every player in this system, there's actually value and there's money to be made and value to be recovered at the end. And then the last thing, the example that we saw already from ARN, is make sure that you put high value recycling in the right hands, and also make sure that before actually moving towards recycling, every other inner loop, like remanufacturing, refurbishment, and even reuse before, is made use of. And then the last example of our work ourselves, what we try to combine is the sector knowledge from all over the place. And this is why we launched the Knowledge Hub that you can freely visit. So with examples from all kinds of sectors, not only the built environment, to come up with your circular strategies and make sure that the companies that you represent or organization don't become the Kodak of the automotive. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ben. It was great having you here after all.
Thank you.
Well done. Can I invite on stage also Mr. Radoslav Mizera? Yes, there he is. Because it's good to be back now. This is our last session before the drinks, so that's very hopeful. But it's promising to be also a very dynamic session. And why dynamic? It will be dynamic because we will have two new ideas, two startups if you want, who will have to pitch their ideas. That's very, very, very scary. But let me first pass the mic to my fellow jury member, commenter, Radoslav, and please introduce yourself and tell something about innovation.
Hello, good evening. I'm Radoslav Mizera from Solve the Cleantech Company. It's my pleasure to be here today, and as I myself represent a startup company, so I know how tough is it for startups to pitch in different type of competitions. And maybe I can share my experience from these competitions we have gone through. And I represent a cleantech company focusing on providing advisory services in domains like sustainability, smart cities, and we work with experts from different countries, connect them to teams, virtual teams, and collaborate together on different challenges. And yeah, about circularity and innovation, I always recall the book, Natural Capitalism, which was written in 1999. So it's going to be about 20 years since the book was actually written. And I was really amazed by the idea of actually how the economy will go and run in cycles. That in the future, actually there will be no waste. So the word waste will actually cease to exist because we will sort of mimic the nature. Everything will run in the cycles. We will adapt to the natural design, which has been there for about 3.5 billion years. So it's the most proven design, and I'm really glad that now actually the circularity is really on top of the agenda all around the world. So I'm really thankful to be here.
Okay,
thanks.
So the world needs innovation and ideas. In the past it was the big companies who eat the small companies. Now it's the fast companies who eat the slow companies. So we need startups, but how to be successful as a startup? How to get access to financing? How to find stakeholders? That's very difficult. And I think the best asset a startup has is actually his pitch. His pitch to convince financiers, to convince stakeholders. It's the capability to convince stakeholders in a very short time about who you are, what you do, Why are you better than the rest? What's your ID? What makes you special and stand out? So we would like to invite 2 startups up front with us to share their ideas with you. Can I have up front Mr. Simon Kroslav from Go4 and Mr. Peter Ladis from Electroformula. So remember, there's never a second chance for a first impression. You will get a first impression today. Give them an applause, please. Come on. Okay, round 1. In the round 1 of pitching, we need the time management. They have it. You're ready. What do we have to do in round 1? They will have to introduce their business. What do you do? What's your business model? Not yet. 1 second. We will say when you can go. But for you as an audience, imagine if it would be you standing here. What would you tell in 1 minute? Scary. Are we ready with time management? First of all, present yourself. First, your name.
First, I want to say that I will present in Slovak language because I have only short time to prepare my presentation. So if you want to understand me, please use your headset. And so now I switch to Slovak.
Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
I'm sorry, now I want to my presentation or first my introduction?
Your pitch.
My pitch, okay, yes. So...
Just your pitch.
Takže ja chcem len povedať, že všetci vieme, že väčšina obyvateľov Európy žije vo veľkých mestách, ktoré majú svoje historické jadrá, úzke uličky, centra miest a problémy s dopravou. Rieši sa elektromobilita, rieši sa verejná doprava, cyklodoprava a mnohé ďalšie riešenia, proste mobilita obyvateľstva. Zabúda sa však na zásobovanie reštaurácií, obchodov, proste iných inštitúcií. Doručovanie poslednej míle. Práve toto spôsobuje najviac ekonomických a environmentálnych problémov v centrách miest. Riešenie však existuje. Je to konsolidácia a ekologizácia urbanej logistiky. Konsolidácia v zmysle vybudovania malého konsolidačného centra, prekladiska blízko centra mesta, kde by sa zásielky triedili podľa adresáta určenia a následne prekladali na ekologické dopravné prostriedky tak, aby sa efektívnejšie využila ich prepravná kapacita.
Dobre, tak ja budem pokračovať tiež v slovenčine. Takže...
Are you ready? Okay. 3, 2, 1, go.
Dobre, projekt Stuba Green Team je projekt Slovenskej technickej univerzity, ktorý vlastne dáva študentom možnosť postaviť ich vlastný elektromobil. A výsledkom tejto činnosti je nielen auto samotné ako produkt, ale predovšetkým skúsenosť. Skúsenosť študentov, ktorí vlastne po absolvovaní tohto projektu sú vlastne pripravení viesť vlastný projekt budúcnosti na tému elektromobility aj celkovo technický projekt. Čiže vlastne, čo náš tím poskytuje, je lepší ľudia pre automobilový priemysel, viac menej lídri a viac menej projekt manažéri. Čiže myslím, že mne to stačí.
Bratislav, can you comment on the 2 pitches? What have you heard and what didn't you hear? Do you think it's clear? Go comment them then one by one, please.
So I think I have a slight advantage because I know both programs or projects. But yeah, I think that they represent some sort of a new air into the area of mobility. I think on one hand, coming with the delivery services, which are very ecological with bicycles, not only.
Mostly with cargo bikes and electrovans, because not all things is possible to switch to cargo bikes.
Yes, so of course, I think we have also some competition related to what you provide, how you run, so maybe it would be nice to see how you, for instance, differentiate from your competitors. Then the second project from Stuba, it's also quite an interesting project related to really how to educate the future designers, engineers in the area of electric mobility. Of course, it's an educational program, so maybe it's not purely a startup, but in certain sense, maybe you're trying to build up the startup thinking among your members.
Nie je to v podstate štandardný startup. Je to startup v tom zmysle, že vlastne projekt je vedený čiste študentami a oni začínajú v podstate za každým, ako keby, že každý rok na novo. Čiže vlastne ten celý tím sa ako keby, že obmení a začínajú prakticky iba na základe technickej dokumentácie z minulosti a všetko ostatné si zariadujú sami. Ako aj financovanie, tak aj vlastne celé zázemie. Takže svojím spôsobom je to neustály startup.
Neustály startup, alebo taký pred-startup.
Áno, také niečo.
That's enough because we have short pitches. Okay, this was the first introduction. Now, a very good idea with the wrong team will not fly. So the second thing you always have to do as a startup is to convince that your team is the winning team. What makes your team stick out? For that we have a second round of pitching. And we start with you this time. Let me see, is time management ready? 3. So why is your team the best to carry out this project? What makes your team better than all the other teams? 1 minute. Go.
Dobre, tak čo nás robí lepším ako ostatní? Je to v podstate tá ideológia, že vlastne pripravujeme ľudí, čo budú ešte len v budúcnosti rozhodovať. A je veľmi ťažké pripraviť ľudí na rozhodovanie. Naozaj to nie je ľahký proces. A človek si musí prejsť všetkým možným, aby vedel v podstate múdro rozhodnúť, ako aj v technickom projekte. Musí sa rozhodnúť, kam smerovať financie, ako ich zabezpečiť. A toto všetko je vlastne niečo, čo keď viac ľudí ovláda tento model, tak vlastne aj do budúcna budú vedieť vo veľkých spoločnostiach a tak rozhodovať lepšie. A lepšie aj z hľadiska environmentu, ale lepšie aj z hľadiska technických rozhodnutí.
Minute's gone. Yeah, time. When the minute is gone, just ring the bell. Okay. Thanks a lot. Go for it.
Go4 is mother company. We are Cyclo-Courier Švihaj-Šuhaj. So better to switch in English, to Slovak. Takže ja skoro poviem, že prečo je toto naše riešenie také jedinečné, zaujímavé. Je to kvôli tomu, že je to svojím spôsobom návrat ku koreňom zásobovania, kde kedysi sa bežne využívali rôzne cyklorikše a podobné veci na zásobovanie v peších zónach alebo celkovo v mestách. A teraz keď vidíme, že ten trend toho, že všetko naložiť do veľkých aut, do dodávok je v podstate prekonaný, kde nedokážeme postaviť dostatočne široké cesty a dostatočne veľa parkovísk v centrách miest na to, aby sme zabezpečili priestor pre tieto obrovské dodávky, tak využitím v podstate jednoduchého riešenia vybudovania prekladiska niekde blízko centra mesta a v podstate cargo bicyklov, ktoré poznáme a existujú v podstate vo svete už dlhé roky, dokážeme viac ako 50% preprav, podľa niektorých výskumov aj viacej, prepraviť práve nákladnými bicyklami, čo môže byť v zásade ekologickejšie, lacnejšie a to, čo zostane, môžeme dať na elektrododávky.
Bratislava, did they convince you without entering discussion with our two candidates? Did they convince you? Did you hear what you wanted to hear?
I will also stand up because it's not polite to sit when others stand. And I think the first pitch was more looking at the competencies, really how to build up the competencies within a new team, this pre-startup phase, and really educate the others how to really start a successful project. So maybe it's looking at a future potential of the team rather than current potential. And the second, I haven't heard that much about the team. It was more, of course, defending the idea that why your startup is good or why it's practically needed. But I would still like to hear why your team is really the best team. So maybe we can, talk about it later. So,
okay, thanks for your feedback. Comments. Now comes the moment where we need your help, because the third pitch is what they need, and what they need also from you, because they're going to ask for help. Help for publicity, help for a demonstration area, maybe a future client. So if you can help then in any way, after the pitches, raise your hand, you say, I can help in this way, and the details we'll discuss later during the drinks with a nice drink in our hand. So just very short. And I count on you. Otherwise, I come just with the mic with you. So we have the third round, and now we start again with Simon. 1 minute. What do you need from this room?
Potrebujeme spoluprácu, jednoznačne spoluprácu najmä medzi samosprávami, ktoré majú v rukách všetky podstatné regulatívy, myslím, že to tu už nezaznelo. Potrebujeme spoluprácu takisto s firmami, ktoré doručujú tieto zásielky, s firmami, ktorí sú adresáti týchto zásielok a v podstate s každým, kto prichádza do styku s týmito tovarmi v centre mesta. Takisto samozrejme sú tam nevyhnuté nejaké investície, čiže samozrejme aj investori do techniky, či už elektromobilov alebo kargobicyklov, ale v prvom rade do vybudovania toho prekladiska.
And that's the end. Yeah, thank you. And the last...
Tak, čo potrebujeme, tak svojím spôsobom potrebujeme lepšiu spoluprácu možno aj s automobilovým priemyslom. Určite potrebujeme aj financovanie. Výstavba elektromobilu není zrovna lacný špás, a najmä pre študentov, ktorí robia chyby. A určite potrebujeme aj, musím povedať, že tam máme vybudované celkom dobré zázemie a spoluprácu s firmami z hľadiska know-how. Lebo chceme robiť náš produkt čím ďalej tým lepší a samozrejme aj my sa chceme učiť čím ďalej tým viac a na to potrebujeme vedieť tie najnovšie informácie, ktoré vlastne na trhu sú.
Thank you very much. First of all, give them a big round of applause, please. Now let's stay with Peter, Electroformula. You have heard what he needs basically. Who in the audience can help him? Can you help him in one way or the other? As a startup, as publicity? Holland Circular Hotspot, can you give visibility?
I wish I could help.
So we need help from the Slovak or Bratislava area.
If I can say something, that our project can be introduced also in other cities, in other states. So I talk about Bratislava because is my mother city, and I live here, and our business is here. But a lot of cities in Europe have similar problem like Bratislava. So I think it can be used in a lot of other cities. So this can be on the training place.
Okay, and we have here Ladeja. Thank you, Ladeja. What can we get more help from the room? From the ministry, maybe? Nobody wants to help. They're startups. We just know how important they are for the future of Slovakia, for circular innovation.
Maybe some politics or majors.
UNIDO, can you help? Okay.
So, from the ministry, of course, we can discuss further with you, our ministry being based in the city center and facing all the problems with the cars, with the parking space. So I can imagine maybe some cooperation for future. So let's talk.
We are from
Ministry of Environment.
Maybe I can also
yes,
say.
please.
Yes, so we'll be definitely excited to help you. In one way, we do student projects, so we work with students from different universities, for instance here in Slovakia and in Finland. So maybe this is also a way how you can build up international teams. Of course, also helping you to build competencies around problem solving or management and leadership, what is very much needed in your area. And secondly, we work also with cities, so maybe there is also a way that we can bring these new business models based on electric mobility around solving city problems. So maybe connect you with some mayors and really see how your solution could be applied in different places.
Okay, and for Peter, I can say that, let's say, we have competences also in the Delft, not in the Delft, in the Eindhoven University of Technology, where there's also lots of things about mobility. So I will gladly make the contacts if needed. So we have one last thing, that is the popular vote. Who of these two gentlemen convinced you most? So that's the last assignment before the drinks. And let's see how we're going. You can vote, please. It's getting exciting. Approaching, catching up from behind. Another 10 seconds. 9 seconds. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And end of voting. So we have a winner for the electro formula. Congratulations. So there will be a box of Dutch delicatesses for the winner, and for the runner-up there will be also a box of delicatesses.
Yeah, I think both are winners. So it's always difficult in a short time to really explain your business ideas. So I think in that sense you're both winners, that you had the courage to come here and present your ideas in the audience, in front of the audience.
Thank you very much. You have been a very patient and a very great audience. Thanks for being here. We go to the drinks and the dinner, and we see you back tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay, so we are almost at the end. And between us and the dinner is a still survey of the day one. So I would like to ask you to answer very briefly 6 questions. And then after the whole afternoon, lot of tough discussions and nice stories from across Europe, we would like to invite you to the dinner that is hosted by the Dutch embassy here in this building on the ground floor. So dinner starts at 7 o'clock, and tomorrow we are reconvening at 8:45 in the morning. So thank you for a day. Please answer the survey before you leave, and see you tomorrow, or see you at the dinner and see you tomorrow. Thank you.